So Miami, they were going to fly back. They were going to play in Miami tonight. They were coming from Philly, but now they're still stuck in Philly. So remember, the Miami Marlins team, they've got all these tests, but they were not in Miami. They were in Philadelphia. So then the Yankees were going to play in Philly, but now the Yankees aren't coming to that game because they would have been sharing that visitor's locker room. So and then the Baltimore team, who were in Miami to play the game, they've now flown back to Baltimore. They're not going to be there in Miami, so we know that game tomorrow is not going to get played either. So all of a sudden, I've just named 4 teams. Miami had just played in Atlanta in an exhibition game before opening days. That's 5 teams. So how far does this go? There's only 30 teams in MLB. I just named 5 right there. What does that mean for other sports that are not in a bubble? What does that mean for football, right? So this is going to be a real tricky one. A lot of emergency meetings at baseball today.
Julia, not to mention that, as you said, the ratings were great over the weekend for baseball's return. So how much of a setback would it be all of a sudden if we have many fewer games this season if it's scrapped altogether?
It would absolutely be a setback, not just to ESPN, but also to Fox. I mentioned those very strong Fox ratings. I think, Kelly, the real question here is, this is the first live sports we've seen. We know there's audience demand. We don't know if they'll be able to pull it off. So the question is, what does this mean, not just for the MLB, but also for the NBA, also for the NHL? Obviously, each of these teams is handling this differently. The NBA is operating in a bubble, which might really help to tamp down on the risk of spread. But there's a lot riding on this. And then if you look ahead to football, I mean, the NFL is by far the most lucrative of all of these sports for the networks. An estimated $4.5 billion in ads just in the regular season last year for the NFL. So a lot of concern to people wanting to make sure that those games happen.
Eric, I don't know the answer to this question. That's why I'm asking. Are there penalties that could be imposed against a team like the Marlins for having such a huge number of COVID tests? I mean, has Major League Baseball, you have one team that has this number, and it's going to affect that many more teams, and maybe the whole league, too,
It depends,
right?
like penalties, it depends how you enforce it. There's a lot of things that are written in rules. Do you necessarily do those things? For example, the NFL, they rolled out rules that you would not get paid if we figured out that you were at a high-risk situation, like an indoor nightclub, a lot of indoor events, things that are high density. So the NFL put that in writing. I don't know what the MLB is going to do. I think this is much bigger than penalties. You can go ahead and penalize the Marlins, but if you end up losing the whole season, is that really going to make up for what you lost here?
That's why I asked. Were the players or the teams aware that there would be penalties available? If not, then, of course, the incentive is to be healthy because you want the league to keep going. But if there's no huge penalty to pay, I think that
if they end up canceling the season and nobody gets paid, I think that's going to be the penalty. Remember, look, we just had the World Series cheaters. They didn't really get penalized for cheating in the World Series. I'm not sure how much they're going to penalize people for getting COVID again. It depends how they got it, right? We don't know how they got it. If everyone did the right thing and it happened anyway, I think that's what this research is going to be about. They were in Philadelphia. So how come the Philadelphia players didn't get it? So we don't know. We just don't know. And that's what's going to be interesting to find out.
And that's what makes it, Diana, so kind of we're all watching this not just because it's about sports, but because it's a test case for what we should expect when we send our kids back to school or are in work environments or dense, office towers or residential towers. I mean, we're kind of all watching this as a test case of how quickly this thing spreads and what you can really realistically do to keep yourself safe.
Right, and it also has to do with communities. Look, these developments that we're seeing across the country, whether in Atlanta's Battery or, as we showed you, St. Louis or right here at Nats Park, this is retail, this is hospitality, this is, restaurants all around the stadiums. And actually this year they're trying to bring people to the stadiums, having big screens outside like they're doing in Atlanta, or trying to have watch parties at some of the restaurants just to have people near the stadiums. So it's all not just about the game itself here, but the communities and the businesses that are thriving around them. That's why they built these developments, was to bring people into the whole area. And if you don't have the games anymore, then that community really has no reason to be here.